Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christensen, along with our co-host Anthony Faso, and we are diving into part 2 of our podcast with David Chavez, CEO of Research Strategies and a strategic coach. Anthony, if you don't mind, maybe give our listeners just a brief background. It's been a week or so since we've had him on.
Yeah. So just as a refresher, David is also a CPA, which means he's smart and good looking, right? He is a U.S. Army veteran. He worked for Arthur Andersen, at the time was one of the top accounting firms in the world. When he left that, he started working for a private family. He owned his own CPA firm. He built it up, or scaled it up, as he would say. Then he sold it. And he started teaching businesses kind of some of the lessons he learned in scaling up his business. Now he teaches small and medium to large size businesses learn how to scale up their business as well. Now, Cameron, what were some of the highlights or takeaways that you got?
Yeah, this is part 2. Just to remind you, the first part that we did is really about goal setting. Mm-hmm. And so that was really the focus of it. The second part, the reason that we broke it up is because we kind of shift topics and we talk about delegation in this part of it. And for me, the takeaway that I had, which was really kind of an epiphany for me, was that, as a small business owner, you try to take everything on and you do it yourself because you want it done right? But when you embrace that ability to delegate, what it does is it leaves you kind of in that space to be creative. Right? And it gives you that time and that space to do what's important, is to think and to stay in that kind of creative, that growth or that adaptive mindset. And so for me, it was really, really important just getting things off of your desk to allow you to kind of look and see where you want this business going. So the delegation, the second part of it, I really enjoy, and I think you guys will too. Anthony, what about you? What are the takeaway or two that you had?
Delegating, that is hard for me, right? I do like to do, I'm very independent. I like the control, as you know, and I if I want it done right, I might as well do it myself. Yeah. And I had that when I had my own business, and I'm sure you did as well. But the problem is, a lot of entrepreneurs, when they're starting off, we're putting everything on our shoulders, which maybe at the beginning is good. Mm-hmm. Right. But if we want to grow, we can't continue to do everything. And in part of that is we're only one person. Right. And we're not going to be good at everything. So what we need to do is we need to focus on things that we're good at and delegate some of the other things. But easier said than done. Yeah. However, what I liked about what David had, and there's also what he did is he went in to describe how to delegate, right? And he had a form that you can kind of list some of the things that you do, and you can put them on a chart to see which ones you should delegate and which ones that you shouldn't. Because one thing he said is oftentimes we delegate things that we shouldn't do. So in that form is going to walk you through what to delegate and what not to delegate. And he gave some tips. Because like for me, my habit would be is I delegate something and they don't do it exactly right. I'm like, okay, just give it back to me. So he talks about some strategies to overcome that. And really, like we've talked about trying to get financial freedom, right? And a lot of times we focus so much on the dollars, but that's also time, right? So we can create more time by delegating. And if you remember, we've been talking a lot about Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. And if, just the E and the S is kind of where most people at. And the S is like the specialist or self-employed. In order for us to get to become the business owner or the investor, we're going to have to utilize others. So to get to those goals of financial freedom, delegation is going to help you get there on the fast track.
Totally agree. Enjoy this episode.
Take care.
What I heard you say there when you're talking about taking the time to establish the goals is the goals really translate into tasks. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day.
Well, I could break them down to what looks like task.
Yep.
Oftentimes those tasks are a little bit bigger than I actually think they are.
So I think you were kind of, maybe that's a lead in, is that a goal breaks down into a task. And what happens with me, I know that I've been self-employed for a long time, business owner. Like Andy says, you go through the end of the year, you go through and you start setting these big goals. And then you're exactly right. They turn into tasks. And then I look at this task and I'm like, well, that's more of my time, right? Yeah. I've got this business to operate. I've got to keep this thing going, right? I don't have time to address this. How is that task, I would say the delegation of that task, how important is that?
Okay. Now we're getting into like, how would I delegate some of this to some of my team? How do I delegate some of the things I don't really not good at in my business? And how would I approach that?
Yeah.
And delegation is another important topic. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because I think we've touched on two really important things. One is kind of being that self-employed individual and having the goals, but then transitioning from, hey, I'm going to do all of this, to handing these pieces off, right? I think that's the growth piece that you're talking about, referring to the scaling up process and also the strategies that you provide, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I think that as leaders in our companies, sometimes when we start to hire people, we dump more than we delegate, and we think we delegate, but we actually dump. And so there's a methodology that goes with delegating. And where I see people get stuck more than anything is, what do I delegate? Because I think people try to delegate the things that they think are simple, but they may not be simple to the person you're delegating them to. So you just want to be careful if you're dumping or delegating. And we have a thing called an enjoyment matrix that sort of helps figure this out.
It helps figure out if you are dumping or if you're delegating, or
it helps you figure out what to delegate.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect. So the obvious question is, what am I delegating? Am I delegating things that I don't want to do or that I'm not good at?
Yeah. So if Anthony lets me share the screen again,
I was just waiting for another.
This guy.
Well, I asked for permission. I was a good boy this time.
I know. Good job. So
you,
thus permission granted, David.
Thank you. All right. So here's the enjoyment competency matrix. And what we do, what we often do is we delegate to people who don't have the competency to actually do whatever we're delegating. And so what we have to do is we have to do this enjoyment matrix from two sides. Let's say that I'm delegating to you, Cameron. You and I are working together and I'm delegating. I have to do this enjoyment competency matrix for me, and you have to do one for you. And what we want to do is we want to think of the things that we loathe doing, right? These are the things that we hate to do. Now, I want to make this clear for anybody who's employee out there. Just because you hate doing it doesn't mean that you don't get stuck doing it. I have a saying that I'll say. This is a podcast, so I'm pretty good at saying it. You can't have the dog without the dog crap. Okay? The dog crap isn't 100% of the time with the dog. It's probably 5%, but every dog has it. Right? And if you don't want to do that for 5% of the time, then you can't have the dog. So the job works the same way. There's always dog crap in the job that you have to deal with. And it could be from 5 to 20% of your job. So when you're doing this, don't get carried away with it. But what do I loathe doing? You should be brutally honest here. Then what do I tolerate doing? And then what do I like doing? And what do I love doing? Right? And what I want to do is I want to start to get to the items that I love and I like, and I'm not capable of doing, or I have some knowledge, and I need to start to develop those and learn them. So these are the things that I would probably want to keep. The things that I am competent at or an expert at that I like and loathe, I need to mentor other people doing this, or mentor the company or the people that I'm doing, and try to delegate some of these items. Now, I might want to keep a few of them just because I love doing them and it gives me joy to do them. But I want to try to help people get that same joy I get from doing them, okay, and mentor them along to it. The things that I want to tolerate, that I want to keep these to a minimum, especially if I'm good at it. Like Anthony and I probably are both good at accounting.
Yeah.
But when it comes to doing our own accounting, we probably suck at it because although we are experts at it, we probably loathe it, okay, more than we love it. And so it's a last resort. These are the things that we need to give away. But the funny part is, these are the things we usually keep for ourselves that we need to be giving away for sure, because we hate to do them. And it's usually the things that you're really, really good at. That's the funny part, okay? And what we usually do is give away the things that we're not good at that challenge us to learn and grow. And we keep the things that we're good at, which creates complacency inside of my company, which is the enemy of growth. I always bring up when I'm speaking to teams, have anybody ever read the Good to Great book? Has either of you guys ever read it?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I was reading that book, I would say to you, so how do I stop sharing? Okay. If I was reading that book, the Good to Great book, I would say, does anyone remember the first sentence of the book? Do you guys remember it?
No.
The first sentence, the enemy of great is good. Complacency kills companies more than anything. Complacency, when everything's going really well in my company, I become super paranoid. So
That's funny. That's funny.
So and then when things aren't going well, I don't become as paranoid. Now, does it cause me some stress? Yes. But I don't become as paranoid as I am when things are running really well. Because I know the reality of people, that people are slipping. And those complacencies starting to get into my processes and mess them up. They're getting into my relationships with my clients and messing them up. And we're not delivering the way we need to deliver, all these things.
What?
So in that delegation thing, if I keep myself in learning mode, I'm less likely to get complacent. Because I'm never 100% comfortable with knowing what I don't know.
Good nuggets there, Dave.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, delegation, I think, is very important. Like we've talked about Robert Kiyosaki's.
That's his brother, Robert Kiyosaki. Is the guy that we're talking about here.
His cash flow quadrant, and we're actually we just did a podcast on it. And I have a feeling this one's going to go first, but that's a little nugget for you to listen to for something that will be coming soon. But one of the things we talk about is trying to get from like the employees go to become self-employed or specialists, and then they try to become business owners and investors. And in order to make that change from quadrants, we need to delegate. And then we're dealing with people we've been talking about before. These entrepreneurs are very controlling, and it's very difficult to delegate. So what are some of the biggest obstacles for people to delegate?
Okay, well, I think the biggest obstacle in our way is that we don't know our own strengths and weaknesses. So we think we're good at everything when we suck at probably half the stuff we do. And we don't admit that to ourselves. And because we want to think that we're good at everything. And so that's the biggest challenge. Doing a lot of the work I've done, I've been fortunate. We do profiles on people. We do behavioral profiles. We use DISC. I've done about 22,000 DISC profiles now since I started doing this. And what I find is that people and the decisions and the things that they're doing, they're in their patterns. Their patterns guide their lives. And we call these patterns habits in everyday form. And these habits happen automatically in our subconscious mind, and we really have no control over them. The pattern controls us. And so what you're trying to do with the goal is break the pattern. So if you go into a goal and then the pattern, and so the delegation comes with understanding what my strengths and weaknesses are and getting to the reality of what these things are, and quit trying to act like you're good at everything, and accept that you're not good at some things and you're better at others. And that when people are giving you feedback, it's just feedback to blind spots you have because you're stuck in your pattern. It's not that they're judging you a lot of times. And especially if they're your friend, they're trying to help you see something you can't see because your subconscious mind is in control. And so how do I get myself past that and really realize what I need to be realized? So, and it goes a lot deeper than that. You know, we're on a short podcast right now. This stuff gets a little more complicated than that, but that's a basic good summary of it. Because if I don't want to admit to myself what I really suck at, you know, and Anthony, you and I probably doing the books inside of our own company, we may be experts, but we suck at the books because we hate doing it, right? Because we've done it for so many years. We've been around accounting. Just the thought of sitting down and doing it is like, oh, no, last thing I want to do, right? But it's somebody else doing it. Oh, no, I got to keep this.
I'll tell you, that's how I feel about doing taxes.
Yep.
I'm totally burnt out and don't want to do them.
Yep.
To be honest, I do like doing the books. I kind of like that. Oh, everything balanced, you know, but that's kind of the nerd in me.
That's the nerdy side of you. But you know, you and I were trying to do a business together at one time. We had another guy involved with us, and it didn't work out because the guy couldn't see his patterns that he was stuck in. And when I tried to help him through that, I knew I wasn't going to be a part of that because he couldn't even see his own patterns. And when I tried to share them with him, he thought I was criticizing him or judging him, and I wasn't judging him. I was trying to help him get out of it so we could scale the company, and I didn't want to be in a company that wasn't going to scale. So,
wise man.
Yes.
I was going to add in there as a personal note is that we just finished parent-teacher conferences this week with our kids.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and it was awesome, and it was good. We got so we sat there with each of our kids, and the teachers, I thought, did a really good job of kind of giving praise, but then also giving some feedback and some criticism to our kids. And honestly, man, I was really impressed the way that my kids took the criticism. And they said, yes, you know, Miss So-and-so, I'll do a better job. I'll work on this. And it was minor things, but man, when you were talking about someone having a blind spot and somebody being able to accept criticism, is it's difficult for a lot of people. And I was impressed with my own kid at 10 and 8 to be able to take that and not get defensive. And so, I don't know. That's what I would say.
Well, that just, so what that's a sign of is you're raising them correctly, and kids are better than us at this stuff. And the reason why is because we're damaged. By the time we're adults, we've had so many negative experiences that we're damaged in our thinking. We think everyone's judging us. And those kids, they have one critical thing with that teacher that they may not have with all their teachers, and that's trust. They trust that teacher. She's built trust with each of them. When they walked into the school on their very first day, or however she did it, because I know everyone's not going to school right now, but she built trust with them right out of the gate.
Well, and also, Cameron, I do have to say kudos to you. I think they're learning those traits from you, because I know after every podcast, I'm criticizing you on how you can do better, and you just eat it up, right? So, well done.
So I was trying to figure out how long I've known Anthony, and it has to be 25 to 30 years now. And I just say he's still the same.
Yeah, still the same. I take that as a compliment. Now
It is.
David, I know you're on a time crunch. You have time for one more question?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. One of the problems I know I had when I had my CPA firm, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs have it, is we start and we delegate something, right? And then the employee doesn't do it right. And we're like, okay, just let me do it and I'll make sure it's done right. But then we're in the same spot that we are, right? Can you give some guidance or some ways that we can overcome just taking everything ourselves?
Okay, but again, that's your behavioral profile, your patterns, right? You do everything right and everyone else does it wrong. Okay,
You're right.
I'm not gonna tell you I don't have a little bit of that. Any good entrepreneur has some of this.
Let David speak. Go ahead.
Yeah. Is Cameron all excited because he does that?
No, he was gonna make a comment. He was gonna interrupt you by making an insult to me, and I was just again criticizing him.
Oh,
go, so he can be better.
Please go, Cameron.
I was gonna say Anthony does everything great. Just ask him.
but so joking aside, because it is funny when we actually sit back and look at ourselves when we do this. It's really funny. The thing that you have to do is when you find yourself doing that, you have to give the person who you're delegating to, you have to tell them that this is your tendency to do this. Okay? And then you need to also give them permission to tell you when you're doing it. Because this is in your subconscious mind and this has been your pattern for a long time, you can't see when you're doing it, but the other person feels it when you're doing it. And so that's my insight on that is that you have to give them permission to help you when you get stuck in your negative pattern. That's it.
That's great.
That was good.
And again, it goes back to knowing your strengths and weaknesses and being honest about them.
What I would also like to add to that, David, is that's why it's important to have processes.
Yes.
For them to follow. And so sometimes what we're doing now, if we delegate something, what I'm doing is I'm creating a video of it. So I'm doing it. I record me doing it, and then I teach the person how to do it. And of course, we need to trust but verify that they're doing it. But instead of them coming back to me and saying, well, how do I do this again? What do I do that? First thing we do is let's go back to the video. Right. Or ideally write down the process. But what we're trying to do is if we start doing it, we start finding that we start teaching somebody or doing a task repetitively, well, let's record it. And that will allow us to delegate. With the technology they have today, like we use a program called Loom, Loom.
I know of it.
Yeah, it's free and it'll record your screen and very easy for the staff or who you're delegating to watch it.
Yeah, we just use our camera on our computer, but we do the same exact thing, and then we publish those in our own cloud. And so we've been doing this. I've been teaching people to do this like 11 years now. So my thing is, this is how I like to do processes. Flow chart them out first. It's the easiest thing to do. Then write up the process, then do the video. So I had a client early on when I started doing the scaling up, and how I got used to the video is he owns an ice carving business. And some of his guys, they're average everyday guys, and what they were doing is they grow pieces of ice that are, they're pretty good size. I mean, they're probably, probably 40 bricks, cinder blocks put together size. Mm-hmm. And so they use engine jacks to get them out of the freezer. And they were breaking them. Well, it takes 3 days to grow these things. So you break one, I may not have enough inventory to even sculpt the ices that I need to sculpt. And this was a big problem for him. And I just told him to record a video. He recorded the video, and he's like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. He goes, that video, they went from breaking 33 1 month to breaking 1 in 1 quarter.
Wow.
Just from the video, like you said. Just because they didn't know the little nuanced things, because there's always a little nuanced thing that you can't capture in the flow chart or the process that's written out that the video will capture, right?
David, I hope you shared that story with him that you shared with us, and I hope he sent you a $3 million check.
Well, actually,
what I'm worth.
Actually, the guy, I'm very fortunate with this guy. So he's doing very well, and he went and started. He actually hired me to start another company, and now he already started that company, and the other company is like 3 times larger than the other one.
Man, awesome! Love to hear that.
Yeah.
Also, David, where's a good place for people to get connected with you?
You could shoot me an email. Right now, I've been, I have a client that's trying to get a hold of me and trying to get a strategy session built. I'm slammed through the end of the year. I'm literally booked solid. I'm taking 4 days off for Thanksgiving, but otherwise I'm working every day. And so right now you can email me. If you email me, it's best to also email my assistant and to make sure that she gets it in front of me, and be happy to help you. Like if you get one of these forms and you want to take a look at it, you get stuck, you want to look at joining our group that meets once a month, that could work too. So you could email me for either one of those things.
Great, David.
And I'm sure you'll provide everyone my email, correct?
I was just going to say, we'll make sure we get your email address in our show notes, and then we'll also put in the PDFs and then the links to the resources to the books that we had mentioned as well. So thank you.
There are our websites on all the PDFs, and then there's an email on our website also. So,
David, this has been great, man. Very insightful. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks a lot for having me. I feel honored to be one of the first non-banking podcasts that you're doing. So,
well, and you're a CPA, so that just kind of brought everything up. And Dave, also, I'm sorry, Cameron. I have a video, video and audio recording of you asking me for permission. So that'll be on the loop, right? Yeah.
Anthony, could you please give me permission?
You know what I'm going to do? That's going to be my ringtone whenever you call. Okay, so just so you know, I'm going to listen to the whole thing. So you may go to voicemail, but then I will call you right back.
All right, perfect. Thanks a lot, man.
Awesome, buddy. Now, go make it a fantastic day.